Graham here, Liv'n Dream in 2020, and this video is going to be a little bit different. It is a pure trip report that we made on the journey from Cairnryan in Scotland to Larne in Northern Ireland on the P&O Irish Sea Ferris European Causeway during July 2020 and therefore during the coronavirus. If you want to see the videos that we made of our trip to Northern Ireland, there's 4 of them in total. They're on YouTube for you to watch. You just have to go back and look at the last 4 videos. But as I said, this one is a pure trip report that we made during the coronavirus pandemic and what it's like to travel between Scotland and Northern Ireland on the P&O Irish Sea Ferries. Before getting into this trip report, I want to remind everybody that there are 2 ferry ports at Cairnryan. First of all, there's the Liv'n ferry that goes to Belfast, and this ferry port is situated approximately 2 miles north of the village of Cairnryan. And next, there's the P&O ferry port, the one we were heading to, and that is simply a few hundred yards south of the Cairnryan village itself. Fiona and I were approaching the P&O Irish Sea Ferry port at Cairnryan from the north on the A77, and therefore we would be turning right. Those travelling from Dumfries, the English border, along the A75 will join the A77 northbound, turning left. However, no matter which direction you approach the P&O Irish Sea Ferry port, you will approach this roundabout turning right in the direction of all vehicles wishing to make the crossing. From here on in, the signage is very clear, pointing buses and commercial vehicles to the left, cars straight on and then into the left towards the check-in booths. And this is where I want to remind everyone again that we were travelling in July 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic. So as we approached the check-in kiosks, we noticed that there were bollards to force even more distancing between you and the check-in clerk. And this is where I'm going to end this particular segment because I didn't want to film the check-in process or the security process. When we filmed this video in July 2020, face coverings were mandatory in Scotland in all public indoor spaces. So as you can see, Fiona and I donned our masks and we headed into the terminal building to use the facilities. But in my opinion, even during normal times, the P&O Irish Sea Ferry port terminal at Cairnryan was always pretty underwhelming. So I'd blocked off seating to create social distancing and a closed restaurant that was pretty rubbish in the first place. It was simply time to head back to the car and prepare to board the ferry to Larne. The boarding process for cars is pretty simple and done on a priority-based approach. Lane 1 for disabled and those needing a little extra time to board. Lane 2 for those travelling in P&O Club class, which is basically their business class product. And finally on this trip, the rest of us. If you want to see what P&O Club class is like, tune into the next video on our return journey from Larne to Cairnryan because we upgraded to Club class on that journey back to Scotland. I know that this boarding route to the P&O ferry at Cairnryan might seem a tad complicated. However, it really isn't. Just follow the car in front and you'll be fine. The only challenge being trying to keep below 15 miles an hour, which is the mandated speed limit in this particular port. And as you will see in a few seconds, all cars are pointed to the vehicle ramp and therefore the upper deck of the P&O European Causeway, which is one of the 2 identical P&O roll-on roll-off ferries that ply this particular route between Larne and Cairnryan and back again every day. This particular ferry was the European Causeway and the one that we would get back on Friday was the European Highlander. Both ships are identical in nearly every way. For anyone nervous about driving this boarding process, don't be worried at all. It's very simple. Just follow the car in front, and the boarding marshals will direct you when to stop. From the car deck, you're directed up the stairs to the main passenger deck. For those who require the use of a lift, or as the Americans call it, an elevator, that service is available too. Whichever way you arrive on the passenger deck, you'll be directed towards this corridor past the gaming machines, the duty-free shop on the left, the club lounge on the right, which we will show you on our return journey on the next video, and into the food court area. Unless I'm travelling in P&O club class, I've always chosen to sit in the cafeteria area. There are plenty of power sockets and the tables are perfect for doing some work on the laptop. Free Wi-Fi is available, but take it from me folks, it's absolutely terrible. So if you get a decent 4G package in your phone, do what I do and just tether your phone to your laptop. The stock image from Google that I'm about to show you is the other main sitting area around the bar, right at the front or the bow of the ship. And despite our inclement weather in this part of the world, even in July it was nice to get out on the deck and get some fresh air. I should state here that during July 2020, when we made this crossing, wearing face coverings or masks were mandatory indoors in the ferry, but they were not mandated when you were outdoors on the deck. I used the 2 hours during this crossing to Northern Ireland to edit the first video in our Road Trip to Ireland series. The journey across the Irish Sea was therefore fairly quick, and it was soon time for Fiona and I to head back to the car deck. What I will say is that P&O have done a fantastic job in creating an environment that makes social distancing possible on this particular crossing between Cairnryan and Larne. Fiona and I certainly felt very safe during our trip in July 2020. If you're wondering why these seats are taped off, it is just another attempt by P&O Irish Sea Ferris to encourage social distancing, while all the passengers made their way back down the stairs, or using the elevator or lift back to the car deck. You may have noticed when you return to your car that your security system will have been activated during the crossing. That'll have simply been due to the motion sensors, which you can switch off. Fiona and I never do, and as we always get back to our car, it tells us that the alarm has been sounding at some point during the crossing. It's nothing to worry about. So it goes without saying that the onboarding process is simply the opposite of the boarding process. You drive out of the level 2 car deck into the bright light. Well, was it bright light during our journey in July? Well, it was certainly brighter than the car deck as we exited down the ramp into Larne Harbour. And of course, Fiona this time on driving, observing the mandated 15 miles per hour speed limit. I know what you're thinking. The onboarding process is simply another slalom as you exit the ship in the direction of the A8 towards Belfast. It's not that hard, you simply follow the vehicle in front. I did, however, wonder why they had a sign saying to stay left. After all, driving in Great Britain is exactly the same as driving here in Ireland. You drive on the left, that just makes common sense. So it did certainly bring a smile to my face as we exited Larne Harbour on the A8 towards Belfast. Unless you're turning back around and heading straight back to Scotland on the next ferry, all traffic is going to be crossing this roundabout heading in the direction of Belfast on the A8. However, in just under 1 mile, any traffic heading towards Carrickfergus or wishing to use the coast road towards the Giant's Causeway would be turning right and in the direction of Larne. But all other traffic heading to Belfast, Ballymena, Londonderry and so on will carry straight on the A8. Over the years, the A8 has improved massively and it is now a dual carriageway the whole way between Larne and Glengormley, where you join the M2 in the direction of Belfast and south towards Dublin. And this is where I'm going to bring this trip report and a very different video that I've brought you on Living the Dream this time. So Fiona and I hope you've enjoyed this trip report on P&O Irish Sea Ferries between Cairnryan in Scotland and Larne in Northern Ireland. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, if you want to continue following Fiona and I as we live our dream, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.